told you truly that I love you too much. You engross my thoughts too entirely to allow me to think of anything else. You not only employ my mind all day, but you intrude upon my sleep. I meet you in every dream, and when I wake, I cannot close my eyes again for ruminating on your sweetness. 'Tis a pretty story indeed that I am to be thus monopolized by a little maid like you, from a statesman, a soldier metamorphosed into a puny lover. I believe in my soul you are an enchantress, but I have tried in vain, if not to break, at least to weaken the charm. You maintain your empire in spite of all my efforts, and after every new one, I make to withdraw myself from my allegiance efforts. My partial heart still returns and clings to you with increased attachment. To drop figure, my lovely girl, you become dearer to me every moment. I am more and more unhappy and impatient under the hard necessity that keeps me from you, and the prospect lengthens as I advance. I'd hoped the middle would have given us each other, but now I fear it will be the latter end. For the period of our reunion in reality approaches me, it seems further off. Among other causes of uneasiness, I dread lest you should imagine I yield too easily to the bars that keep us asunder. But if you have such an idea, you ought to banish it and reproach yourself without justice. A spirit entering into bliss, heaven opening all its faculties, cannot long more ardently for the enjoyment than I do, my darling Betsy, to taste the heaven that awaits me. Is my language too strong? Is it a feeble picture of my feelings? No words can tell you how much I love and how much I long. You will only know it when we wrapped in each other's arms we give and take those delicious caresses which love inspires and marriage sanctifies. I ought at least to hear from you by every post, and your last letter is as old as the middle of Sept. You will laugh at me for consulting you about such a trifle, but I want to know whether you prefer my receiving the nuptial benediction in my uniform or in a different habit. It'll be just as you please, so consult to your whim on what you think most consistent with propriety. If you mean to follow our plan of being secretly married, the scruple ought to appear entirely your own, and you should begin to give hints of it. I am composing a speech of which I shall endeavour to prevail upon her to act the principal character. The title, The Way to Get Him, for the benefit of all single ladies who desire to be married. You will ask her. If she has any objections to taking part in this piece, tell her that I am not much mistaken in her. I am sure she will have none. For your own part, your business now is to study the way to keep him, which is said to be the most difficult task of the two, though in your case I verily believe it will be the easy one, and that to succeed effectually you will only have to wish it sincerely. May you only be successful in pleasing you, and may you be as happy as I shall ever wish to make you. I am. The day before yesterday, my angel, I arrived here, but through a want of an opportunity could not write you sooner. Indeed, I know of none now, but shall send it to the Quartermaster General to be forwarded by the first conveyance to the care of Colonel Hughes. Finding when I came here, so that nothing was said on the subject of command, I wrote the General a letter enclosed in my commission. This morning Tillman came to me in his name, pressed me to retain my commission with an assurance that he would endeavour by all means to give me a command nearly so much as I could have desired in the present circumstances of the army. Though I know my Betsy would be happy to hear I had rejected this proposal, it is a pleasure my reputation would not permit me to afford her. I consented to retain my commission and accept my command. I hope my beloved Betsy will dismiss all apprehensions for my safety, and happily for public affairs, and there seems to be a little prospect of activity, as if there should be a heaven, will certainly be propitious to any attachment so tender, so genuine as ours. Heaven will restore me to the bosom of my love, and permit me to enjoy with new relish the delights which are centred there. It costs me a great deal to be absent from them, but the privation is certainly only temporary. I impatiently long to hear from you the state of your mind since our painful separation. Be as happy as you can, I entreat you. my amiable, my beloved wife. But let not absence deprive me of the least particle of your affection. Always remember those tender proofs I have so frequently given you in mind, preserve for me the unabated blessing which can make life of any value to me. Immediately after dinner, I stole from a crowd of company to a solitary walk to be at leisure to think of you, and I have just returned to tell you by express this moment going off that I have been doing so. You were certainly a little sorceress and have bewitched me, for you have made me devilish everything that used to please me, and have rendered me as restless and unsatisfied with all about me as if the inhabitant of another world, and had nothing in common with this. I must, in spite of myself, become inconstant to detach myself from you, for as it now stands, I love you more than I ought, more than is inconsistent with my peace. A new mistress is supposed to be the best cure for an excessive attachment to an old. If I was convinced of the success of my scheme, I would be tempted to try it. For though it is pride of my heart to love you, it is a torment of it to love you so much, separated as we are now. But I am afraid I should only go in the quietest of disquiet that would make return to you with redoubled tenderness. You gain by every comparison I make, the more I contrast you with others, the more amiable you appear. But why do you not write to me oftener? It is again an age since I've heard from you. I write you at least 3 letters for your one. Though I am immersed in public business, you have nothing to do but to think of me. Oh. When I come to Albany, I shall find means to take satisfaction of your neglect. You will collect the mode I threaten to punish you in all your delinquencies. All my delinquencies. I shall find means to take satisfaction to your neglect. I wrote you a long letter by your father. I suppose you will wait his return before you write. If you do, I shall chide you severely, and if you do not write me a very long and fond one by him, I shall not forgive you at all. I shall not forgive you at all. I've written you a short letter since that. We are now at Dovis Ferry. I would go on, but the General summons me to write. Adieu, my dear, lovely, amiable girl. Heaven preserve you and showers towards his blessing. Love me, I conjure you. I shall not forgive you at all. I shall not forgive you at all. My dearest girl, I write to you a hasty letter 2 days ago, since which I have had the happiness of hearing you were well by Colonel Hub, and did not forget me when he was coming away. Every moment of my stay here becomes more and more irksome, but I hope 2 or 3 days will put an end to it. Colonel Welp tells me you set a carriage for to go to Philadelphia. If you should set out before I return, have the goodness to leave a line to inform me how long you expect to be there. I beg you two will not suffer any considerations respecting me to prevent your going, for thou will tax upon my love to be part with you for so long. I wish you to see that city before you return. It will afford you pleasure, and whatever does that will always be most agreeable with me. Only let me entreat you to endeavour not to stay there longer than the amusements of the place interest you, in complaisance to friends, for you must always remember your best friend is where I am. If possible, and you give me your consent, I shall try to make a short visit to the city while you are there, but it is very uncertain whether I shall be able to do it. If I were not afraid of making you vain, I would tell you that Mrs. Carter, Peggy, yourself, are the daily toast of our table. For this honour you are chiefly indebted to the British gentleman, though as I am always thinking of you, this naturally brings Peggy to my mind, who is generally my toast. Though as I am always thinking of you, this naturally brings Peggy to my mind, who is generally my toast. Captain B is here and talks of her sometimes, but I won't give my consent to his being her favourite. I don't think him clever enough for her. He sings well, and that is all. Yet of Valence he is not of the party. I am told he is a pretty fellow. I have learned his secret by coming down here. Our interview is attended with a great deal of sociability and good humour, but it could begin notwithstanding to be tired of our British friends. They do their best to be agreeable and are particularly civil to me. But after all, they are a compound of grimace and jargon, and are out of certain fashionable routine, or as dull as empty as any gentleman need be. One of their principal excellences consists in swallowing a large quantity of wine every day, and in this I am so fortunate that I shall make no sort of figure with them. You must not think me prejudiced, for the picture is a true one. I have written so far when they express a ride with your dear billet under cover of winning from your guardian. I cannot tell you what excellency I feel casting my eye over the sweet effusions of tenderness it contains. My Betsy so speak in every line, and bids to me the happiest of mortals. I am so, and will be so. You give me too many proofs of your love to allow me to die in the conviction that I possess you. I possess everything in the world. The good mead had the kindness to tell me that you received my letter with apparent marks of joy, and that you retired with eagerness to read it. 'Tis some circumstances like these we best discover the true sentiments of the heart. Yours upon every occasion testifies that it is entirely mine. But notwithstanding all I have to thank you and to love you for, I have a little quarrel with you. I will not permit you to say you do not deserve the preference I give you. You deserve all I think of you and more. And let me tell you, your diffidence with so many charms and unpardonable amiableness. I am pleased with, however, on one account which I will induce you to call your good qualities and full activity. And there is nothing I should always delight in more than to assist you in unfolding them in their highest perfection. I spun out this letter much longer than I intended. It's now half an hour past our time of meeting. I must bid you adieu. Adieu, my charmer, and take care of yourself, and love your Hamilton as well as he does you. God bless you. And this letter, my very dear Eliza, will not be delivered to you unless I shall first have terminated my impossible for me to avoid an interview. My love for you, my precious children, would have been alone a decisive motive, but it was not possible without sacrifice of it to render me unworthy of your esteem. I should not tell you the pangs I feel, but the idea of quitting you and exposing you to the anguish which I know you would feel. Nor could I dwell on the topic lest it should unman me. Consolations of religion, my beloved, can alone support you, and these are the right to enjoy. Fly to the bosom of your God and be comforted. With my last adieu I shall cherish this sweet hope. Adieu, best of wives and best of women. Praise on my darling children for me, every year of the way. I've received, my angel, 2 letters from you since you arrived in my camp with a packet of papers, and I have written to you twice since I saw it. My acquaintance with the assurances that are given me with respect to command, and bid you dismiss all apprehensions for my safety on account of little prospect of activity. With no object of sufficient importance to occupy my attention, here I am let to feel all the weight of our separation. I pass a great part of my time in company, but my dissipations are very imperfect suspension of my uneasiness. I was cherishing the melancholy pleasure of thinking the sweets I had left behind was so long deprived of, when a servant from the headquarters presented me with your letters. I feasted for some time in the sweet effusions of the tenderness they contained, and my heart returned every sensation of yours. Alas, my Betsy, you have divested it of every pretender, and placed your image there as a sole proprietor. I struggle with any success which I cannot but deem a weakness, and endeavour to bring in myself back to reason and duty. I ruminate with my heart on the impropriety of suffering itself to be engrossed by an individual of the human race when so many millions ought to participate in its affections and in its cares. But it constantly presents you with such amiable forms as seems too well to justify its mediated dissertation of the cause of country, humanity, and of glory. I would say, if there were not something in the sound insipid ridicule when comparing the sacrifice by which it is to be attained. Indeed, Betsy, I am truly changed for the worse, I confess, lost all the public and splendid passions absorbed in you, amiable woman. Nature has given you the right to be esteemed, to be cherished, to be beloved, but she has given you no right to monopolize a man whom, to you, I may say, she is endowed with qualities to be extensively useful to society. Yes, my Betsy, I will encourage my reason to dispute your empire and retrain it within proper bounds, to restore me to myself and to my community. Assist me in this. Approach me for a manly surrender of that love, and to teach me with your esteem would be the price of acting well my part as a member of society. I write to your father of all the news we have. Give my love to your mother, sisters, and brothers. Love me, and let your happiness always consist in loving. Yesterday, my lovely wife, I wrote to you enclosing a letter, and one to your father, to the care of Mr. Morris. Tomorrow the post sets out, and tomorrow we embark for Yorktown. I cannot refuse the pleasure of writing you a few lines. Constantly uppermost in my thoughts and affections, I am happy only when my moments are devoted to some office that respects you. I have given the world to be able to tell you all I feel and all I wish, to consult your own heart, and you will know mine. What a world will separate between us. To support the idea, all my fortitude is insufficient. What must be the case with you, who, the most female of female hearts? I sink at the perspective of your distress, and I look to heaven to be your guardian and supporter. Circumstances that have just come to my knowledge assure me that our operations will be expeditious, as well as our certain success. Early in November, as I promised you, we shall certainly meet. Cheer yourself with this idea, and with assurance of never more being separated. Every day confers me the tension of renouncing public life and devoting myself wholly to you. Let others waste their time and their tranquility in vain pursuit of power and glory. Be it my object to be happy in a quiet retreat with my better angel. The charge against me is a connection with one James Reynolds for purposes of improper speculation. My real crime is amorous connection with his wife for a considerable time with his privy and connivance, if not brought on by a combination between the husband and wife with the design to extort money from me.